as we get started. Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue, where we break down all the great and the good in the world of wrestling news. Today we are going to be talking how we got to this Sami Zayn storyline and who's been backing him up backstage. We're going to talk Dave Meltzer and The Rock, a match made in heaven as it were. We're going to be talking about the fact that wrestlers are now being paid less in the WWE than they were previous. We are talking four different returns coming soon to the WWE, as well as a little more on the planned matches for the Royal Rumble. But first, we start, as seemingly always, with a little bit on Sasha Banks. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, just as we start. The rumours are at the moment that Sasha Banks will not accept any wrestling gigs, bookings as it were, until January. There is a reason for this. The plan is that January will be the cut-off, and the cut-off point is there for a reason. The reason for that cut-off point is that that's when negotiations will be ending. If nothing is sorted then with the WWE, nothing then will be sorted with the WWE. So at this point, the most likely scenario for Sasha Banks is definitely a Royal Rumble return as the most likely landing spot. However, if they are not able to get those negotiations over the line, it may be the point at which she walks away and goes somewhere else. I wouldn't necessarily say that it is likely to be AEW. I would say Stardom is more likely to come calling, but this is a moment when either she's going to stay or go, because in one month, Sasha Banks will be accepting wrestling bookings from somewhere in just 1 month. Now, just slightly as an aside to that, we've heard a lot about people backstage in the WWE. There are rumours about Sasha Banks popping up backstage during Raw and Smackdown events. This is not the case. She is working almost entirely out of Titan Towers, whereas Naomi has been spotted backstage a number of times within the WWE locker rooms. Right, welcome everyone. That was our first piece of news. Plenty more to come, but let's discuss a few of our comments first. Carlos says, "Hi Tom, Roman Reigns isn't scheduled for any Smackdown for the month of December. Will he get written off TV tonight? In an injury angle he got from KO at Wargames could lead into a match at the Rumble." No, Roman Reigns tends to just vanish for a while. That's very much his play, and it's been very effective for him. Jordan says, "Good evening Tom, hope you're well." Doing very well, thank you. Steve echoing it says, "How are you doing buddy?" Welcome Steve. Doing very well, thank you, very well indeed. The channel keeps going from strength to strength, and so does my life, kind of, you know. Carmelina says, "Hi Tom, how are you today? I hear that the Usos might be getting a tag team championship belt. Did you hear anything about that?" I have not, though there have been rumours about it for several months. It's been a long time coming, but it sounds like the tag team championships may be getting brought together for the rest of time at this point, rather than just as briefly as the World Championship. Spider Boss says, "Hello Tom, it's spoiler warning day." It is indeed. Wiggly says, "Yo, yo, yo, yo. I'm in Birmingham, travelling to Telford tomorrow to meet Bryan Danielson and Kurt Angle. Only to be told this evening Bryan Danielson has pulled out and won't be coming." I can understand why you're gutted, mate. That's a real shame. Spider Boss is talking about The Rock. We'll be talking about that shortly. Hector says, "Good afternoon, Tom. I know you'll probably talk about it, but how crazy is a report from Brian Alvarez, the Regal, having if Triple H ever gets power in WWE, that he could get out of his contract? It seems so far-fetched, but who knows, crazy things have happened." More on that shortly. Connor says, "Hey Tom, hope your day's been good." Been very good, thank you, Connor. Spider Boss is confused about the Regal report. I will touch on that shortly. Ross says, "Excellent Vince video, Tom." Thank you, Ross. For those who haven't seen the Vince McMahon expose, I put a lot of time and effort into it. I've linked it in the chat on the YouTube side. It's in the pinned comment. Just click that link as soon as the show is over, and we'll be trying to direct people there afterwards, if they're in somewhere else, to head over to first. Ed says, "Hey Tom, oh boy, more Sasha news." Briefly, Sasha news, but we've already covered everything that will be covered as regards Sasha Banks. Callie says, "Evening Tom, hope you're well." Doing very well, thank you Callie, welcome to the show. Spider-Man says, "Sasha Banks was in attendance at the Boston Celtics game." Yes, she was. Michael says, "Hi Tom." Hello Michael. Razar says, "What is all this talk about The Rock returning for WrestleMania? Has anything changed?" More on that shortly. Traffic says, "Good afternoon Tom and chat as always. Thanks for the news. Any news on William Regal?" More on that shortly. Steve says, "Have you seen the footage of Eric Young being killed off for Impact? PWInsider reports Eric Young is returning. What are your thoughts on this potentially happening?" More on that shortly. Venom says, "Hi Tom, before I start with what I have written down, I'm just going to ask, I'm just curious, how come you don't like Tyler Bate?" No comment. Sean Ireland says, "I've seen the FTR's contracts are up in April 2023. I wonder where they will go to revive their legacy." Venom says, are you saying that if Sasha doesn't return at the Rumble, she isn't coming back at all? What I've said is what I said, and what I didn't say is what I didn't say. Connor says, any more news on Liv since Monday? Thanks for the news. By the way, great streams. No worries, Connor. Much obliged. As regards Liv Morgan, I do expect her back shortly, probably as soon as tonight, but could possibly be in another week or so. She's been taking a brief break, and she'll be back in action shortly. Steve says, any news on Killian Dane? No comment. Marcel says, hi Tom, welcome Marcel. Wrestler fan says, will Edge compete in the Royal Rumble or in a mixed tag team match, teaming with Beth Phoenix versus Rhea and Finn? I believe the most likely scenario there is a Royal Rumble appearance for Edge. Spider-Boss says, about Sasha, I hope we see her back. Bailey says, the news never stops on spoiler warning. Welcome Bailey, and very, very true. Code says, I think the Man and Bob should wrestle against Bailey, one of the best segments to start Raw. Traffic says, strongly recommend to anyone here go watch the Vince video. 10 out of 10 man's putting hell at work for it. The amount of different sourced reports that I've put in that description is pretty incredible. Mark Robson, welcome, says, hey legend, how are you? Oh, big words. How is the reaction backstage for the new Austin Theory look? So far, so good. People are very happy with it. Austin Theory himself is just as happy as anyone else. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing today? I like the video you did on Vince McMahon. Thank you Noob, I appreciate that. I'm doing very well. Hope you are as well. Sai is here saying, hi Tom and all. Hope you're all good. All good. Thank you Sai, and welcome to everyone. Welcome Simon as well. Moise says, is Eric Young really coming back? More on that shortly. Spiderboss says, Wrestle News Co. said Raquel Gonzalez will face Ronda at the Royal Rumble 2023. More on that shortly. Code says, Code. 1 minute, guys. Says, any news on Charlotte return? She teased on her Instagram story with the wrestling boots. It is exactly where it was previously. She's on the way back. We are likely to see it around the time of the Royal Rumble. Stuart says, evening Tom. Enjoyed your Vince McMahon video. Good work. Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. Callie says, it's all on the table. And Ross says, I'm hopeful for a Sasha return. Kieran says, yo, Kieran. And Simon says, AEW will pay more. That doesn't matter to Sasha Banks. So let's get to our next piece of news, and we're going to try and get through a few of them now, because there is quite a few to get through. So, as regards Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, our title story, as it were, about Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Firstly, just a quick reminder, we are on 60 viewers, but only the 13 likes. Please remember to hit that like button. It does make a massive difference to the show. So, Sami Zayn was initially brought into the Bloodline storyline purely to help support the fact that Roman Reigns was not going to be there. The sole intention was to add extra storyline when they were missing Roman and to add additional tension. This, of course, happened before the arrival of Solo Sikoa. They were originally going to have the Usos paired off against each other for a while longer, with Jay and Jimmy basically going to war in the name of Roman Reigns. However, the subsequent arrest of Jimmy Uso meant that was no longer tenable, and they did what they could to pair them back up once again. With Sami Zayn's involvement, the original intention was for it to be relatively brief. And by relatively brief, I mean that the tag team with Kevin Owens was supposed to have already been in play. However, crowd reaction and also continued and very flattering endorsements from Roman Reigns, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, as well as considerable backstage clout from Paul Heyman, have meant that the storyline has continued. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman in particular are said to be openly supportive of Sami Zayn backstage, singing his praises on a number of different occasions to Triple H, which has encouraged the plan that was already in place for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to take on the Usos at WrestleMania for the Tag Team Championships next year. That is currently the plan for the Tag Team Championships, and going forwards, that is very much the intention. Roman Reigns will, of course, wrestle at the main event, and one thing I will say is I do find it very interesting that we're suddenly starting to hear rumours about Roman Reigns pulling double duty a month and a half after I spoke about Roman Reigns pulling double duty. Sometimes I just like to point that out. Ed says Charlotte also posted a training photo of Alba Fire and Zoe Stark. I do believe that is more clear about her returning from her ring rust at this point. After all, Sasha Banks is doing much the same thing. Spider-Boss echoes the same. Venom says the sports entertainer is reporting that Sasha has worked out a deal with WWE because she has a better relationship with Triple H and knows she will receive much better booking and opportunities. When's the last time you heard a report from the sports entertainer? When's the last time? We've got to check our sources. To my knowledge, a deal has not been formally signed off by Sasha Banks. Also, when you say a much better relationship with Triple H, yes, she has a very good relationship with Triple H. She also had an incredible relationship with Vince McMahon, and let's not get that one twisted. Venom says Ronda can't be that popular if there's a trend going around hashtag fire Ronda Rousey. Depends what you mean by popular. If by popular you mean populist, as in known by many people, yeah, she's real popular because she's really well known. And as regards name value, she's one of the biggest names in the WWE at this point in time. Pretty much second only to people like Roman and Brock. That's pretty much it. But if you mean as regards people like her, that's a very different thing. But it's wrestling. They're not always supposed to like you. Hector says Dakota Kai recently spoke about damage control on a podcast she was on. Said that Bayley has wanted this for years, and the original plan was Bayley, Dakota, Candice, and Tegan Nox. Then when she came back, the original plan for damage control had the additions of Raquel and Kaylee Ray. Thoughts? Yeah, one thing I will mention, Bayley really wants to work alongside Kaylee Ray, but she wants to work alongside Kaylee Ray, not Alba Fire. Very different scenario. JJ, welcome. Says, hey Tom, do you know if Becky have like a little creative control to write her own promos? I love the segment with her and Bayley on Monday. Depends what you mean by creative control. She can make suggestions, but control is entirely held by the creative team, and final creative control is from Triple H. He does allow more creativity and more ad-libbing, but there are always bullet points that people are required to reach. Venom says, I felt my heart jump down my throat when I heard basically Sasha at Rumble or not at all. Pierre says, hey Tom, just arrived. Any Sasha news? Yes, we did start with Sasha news. I'll reiterate it once I've got through all of the other news that I've got. Or Pierre, you can zip back to the beginning. It is literally the very first thing I talk about. Also, welcome, mate. Simon, Sasha is always going to be bigger in your opinion. No one is bigger in your opinion. Ed says, remember those talking about Sasha in AEW, how incredibly terribly booked the AEW women's division is booked. So even with the money, that's the biggest deal of importance to her. And that is absolutely true. Sasha's not that interested in money to my knowledge. She's more interested in good booking and limited dates. Spider-Boss says, it caught my attention that fans on social media made the hashtag Fire Ronda. Yeah, certainly got a lot of people talking. Callie echoes that as well, saying I can't stand Rousey. Rousey. Spider-Boss says, who do you see winning the SmackDown World Cup? Ricochet, because he's a face and Gunter is a heel. Thank you, Venom. I appreciate you sourcing, just to be clear on that. Connor says, the Fire Ronda Rousey hashtag was mostly from Sasha stands because they spread a fake tweet where Ronda makes fun of the Sasha and Naomi walkout. I did not know that, Connor. I have not looked into it personally. Okay, so next piece of news. The Rock is coming back for WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. This is the latest report from Dave Meltzer. Does it sound familiar? Because, I don't know if we're all aware of this, but this time last year, The Rock was coming back for WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. Not only that, but this time the year before, The Rock was coming back for WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. Not only that, but this time the year before, The Rock was coming back for WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. That is 4 years in a row that the same report has been made. 3 years in a row that it's been proven to be incorrect. However, people seem to have gone a little more clever with this one, because the report about The Rock is not that The Rock is returning anymore. The report about The Rock is now that WWE have discussed The Rock returning. Now, to be clear on this one, yes, the WWE have discussed The Rock returning. In much the same way that the WWE have discussed Batista returning. In much the same way that the WWE for many years discussed Robert Downey Jr. making an appearance during his years as Iron Man at WrestleMania. Every single year, the WWE thinks to themselves, what big names do we want? And the answer is always all of them. So of course The Rock has been mentioned. In no way does that mean he's going to be available or interested. The story very much writes itself, that's true. But, oh, my eyebrow's gone real weird. But we need to, every now and then, stop and think about what we're saying. And even more than that, stop and think about what we're believing. Because how many times has this happened now? If we do see The Rock this year, and to be clear, as I've said many times, The Rock is not currently booked for a match at WrestleMania. Just want to be clear on that. The Rock right now is not booked for a match at WrestleMania. If that does happen, do we see the Wrestling Observer doing a victory lap? Because if so, it's got to be one of the most confusing things I've ever seen. Stranger things have happened, including the TV show Stranger Things, where things happened. But in this one, I think Dave's got to let it go. Because he seems to be wanting to feud with The Rock himself over this one. You're not a worker, mate. Eric, welcome to the show, sir. Code says, do you think Becky will be alone 3v1 for this feud since Bianca, Asuka and Alexa didn't get involved? And more Alexa teases for some sort of character change. She may be alone briefly, but I do see her getting back up in some form or another. Hey, maybe even Charlotte Flair. Nah, I don't see that one. As regards the Alexa character change, people are really highlighting that Alexa doesn't seem to be that interested in the story, and they seem to think that's her personally. Or all of these different distractions being provided by Bray Wyatt are starting to get to her a little bit. That's the story they're actually trying to tell. Carly, once again, not a fan of Ronda. Spider-Boss says, how many times Meltzer has said The Rock will return to WWE? Since, well, the idea of facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, 4. Barry simply says, Rock clickbait. I mean, it's worked. It's got all the different wrestling media outlets in uproar. The Rock's coming back, The Rock's coming back, The Rock's coming back. And a lot of traffic goes to the Wrestling Observer. A lot of new traffic, because traffic that already go are fully aware that this one probably won't happen. Hector says, Tom, what are your thoughts on Stephanie McMahon talking about WWE's plan for global localization, or glocal, as she referred to it, as and that she essentially wants to localize boxing and essentially do what Vince did with the territories. This has been the plan for a while. This essentially is what Nick Khan was brought in to do. That is very much the plan that they had. This is why we're talking NXT Europe, for example. This is why NXT Asia has been in the conversation for so long. Because the idea is to globalize, to go as far as they possibly can. But they're avoiding the word globalize. They're using global localization, and I kind of get why. Spider-Boss says, it pisses me off a little bit reading other wrestling media outlets talking about Sasha's news. Only one guy's been giving Sasha news, and it's Tom freaking Colohue. Thank you kindly, Spider-Boss. I understand it winds me up sometimes too, but what I do suggest is you do whatever you can to survive it. I do appreciate that recently Michael has been very, very generous on Twitter, for example. We grow because of that word of mouth, but as you guys know, especially on Twitter, unfortunately, we may grow with that word of mouth, but also you tend not to get a lot of happy people about it, which is a real annoying shame. Real annoying shame. Venom says, a sports entertainer is reporting Ronda only signed a 1-year deal. They're also saying there are rumours she's on her way out of WWE. How true is this, Tom? So, I have to go back in my own history a little bit for this one. Because of this particular Ronda Rousey report is when a lot of wrestling journalists came on the offensive with me. So I reported during the 2018 Ronda Rousey run that she would only be wrestling for a year, going from WrestleMania 34 to WrestleMania 35, which of course she did. At the time, this really caught the attention of, let's just say, a reporter from Fightful, who decided to quite publicly and openly say that I was wrong and state that she actually was going to wrestle for 3 years. All of these tweets are still out there. And, of course, the hilarious thing about it is that what happened was she wrestled for 1 year, WrestleMania 34 to WrestleMania 35. That's what happened. Now, as regards this current incarnation of Ronda Rousey, there are certainly some rumours of that, mostly based on the fact that it's happened before. However, I've not had any confirmation. And, based on what I just said, I'm confident that I would at least get a sniff of it. if you get what I'm saying. Welcome, Robs. How you doing? Venom says, thing is though, it's obvious Rock ain't winning, so it would be cool to see, but the outcome is obvious. Yeah, I'd definitely watch the match, but I don't think it's going to happen. Ken said, is Zelina Vega getting a title push anytime soon? No plans for it at the moment. Connor says, I'm still pushing for Charlotte Flair versus Gemma Collins at the next UK pay-per-view. If anyone wants to sign a petition for it. I mean, you're welcome to try, but please God, no. Simon, I'm really not happy with the rhetoric, and I'm really not happy with the amount of times we've had to have this conversation. A lot of people watch Stardom. I've watched Stardom at times. It's a lot of fun. I suggest you start watching Stardom. I think you'll like it. Jordan says the year is 2052. The Rock is coming back to face Roman Reigns. Spider-Bell says, funny that Sasha's crew thinks Sasha only cares about the money. They don't think that. Sasha only wants good booking and limited date contract. Yes, she does, and most of the crew are fully aware of that. Venom says, is she reuniting with Bray or is he coming for her? I've spoken about this at length. To my knowledge, he's getting revenge. Carly says, it's so true because everyone wants The Rock back. Yep, easy clickbait. We'll get your name all over the place and bring you new fans. Kieran said, if Cody returns at the Rumble, I'd have Seth and Cody enter 1 and 2 and be the last two in the ring. If he does return at the Royal Rumble, I think he'll be a bit more protected than that and will likely come in around 23-24. Kieran says, I know no one's talking about the Rumble, but I just had that thought come into my head. There will be a lot of talk about the Rumble, I promise you that. Colton, welcome, says, I got an Uncle Harper theory. Uncle Harper will debut on December 16th, Luke Harper's birthday. That is a great shout. That is a great shout there, Colton. And a very good point made. Andy, mate, I was just thinking about you earlier today. I was going to reach out. Nearly Christmas, isn't it? I remember our Christmas parties. Andy says, hope you're doing well, Tom, pal. Just a quick one. Have any fun on Regal making a WWE return? Why, yes. Yes, I do. And this seems to be the ideal time to talk about it. Now, admittedly, when it comes to this brilliant Regal news, it's real confusing, isn't it? So, 4 returns that I want to discuss. That's free. 4 returns that I want to discuss at this point in time. Firstly, the William Regal rumours are gaining steam, though this is another one that's come from Wrestling Observer and, for example, Dave Meltzer, in which, to be fair, Dave Meltzer's kind of no-commenting the whole thing as well, in that he said William Regal's contract is expiring. William Regal's contract isn't expiring. William Regal's contract might be expiring. There's something else going on, but I'm not able to talk about it. This then follows up to a report from Fightful saying, oh, his contract expires in December, this month. This then follows up with PWInsider saying, oh, William Regal's coming. It's gaining a lot of steam, but at this point in time, it's extremely confusing a prospect and very out of the ordinary. Now, I've reached out to contacts within AEW myself, and I was told that the initial contract was 3 years, but I'm not as connected to AEW as I am elsewhere. What I would like to compare this to is the Rey Mysterio contract. When he returned, or his most recent return I should say, to the WWE after wrestling for a while in New Japan, he was on a very interesting contract in that there were a number of opt-out options which would leave him to retire at a time of his choosing because he was looking to retire at the time. There was a point at which art imitated life where Dominic Mysterio refused to let Rey Mysterio announce his retirement, stating that Dominic wanted to work as a tag team, and that is what happened. But Rey Mysterio still had and still has a number of opt-outs in his contract. To my knowledge, William Regal was just looking for, essentially, something to do. To kill time, as it were, but didn't necessarily know whether or not he wanted to continue working in wrestling or wanted to return to the UK and chill out. This left him a number of options to do so if things didn't quite work. But the BCC very much did work, so he stuck around. At this point, it is believed that he will be able to opt out should he choose to do so and return to the WWE. I've spoken about it at length. Triple H wants William Regal. William Regal is basically the entire reason that the WWE's, how to describe this? The WWE's talent line is as effective as it is. William Regal is the primary scout, the primary organizer, the primary talent relations for the developmental side of NXT. William Regal was integral to the WWE as we see it now, identifying talent such as the Four Horsewomen, such as Finn Balor, such as Bianca Belair, identifying talent such as The Shield. William Regal was integral to all of that. He also is responsible for the new upcoming generation. Gunther, for example, Rhea Ripley. He is responsible for a lot of people that are now mainstays in WWE. Interest in William Regal is through the roof and has been since the second he was let go. I'll go through the rest of the return talk. Please do remember to hit the like button while doing so. We have 76 people watching and only the 26 likes, so please remember that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, because at the moment we are very close to a little milestone, which you guys may enjoy. So at the moment we are currently sitting on 1,846 subscribers. Four more, and we reach 1,850. We are not going to make the 2,000 by the end of the year, I'm confident of that, but we're still going to make a damn good go of it. So thank you everyone who's hit like already. FTR. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, accounting for numbers 2 and 3 of the 4 returns that I'm talking about, are currently booking independent interviews, meaning that AEW are not clearing all of their media appearances as technically required by the company. Their contracts are expiring in early 2023. This is now being confirmed by other reporters as April 2023. Triple H still wants to get these guys into the Mania card in some manner, as you'll be fully aware of if you've been keeping track of spoiler warning. Likely this will not mean wrestling at this point in time, but having them at ringside to reintroduce them to the fan base by and large. FDR want to return to the WWE. They have, to my knowledge, no interest in signing a new deal with AEW and are only interested in working once again for Triple H. Triple H has let it be known quite openly that he wants the revival back. This has been brewing since Royal Quest at the beginning of October when I first reported on the comments of FTR at that event. It wasn't an AEW event, so they were very open about the fact that they were not happy with Tony Khan. Finally, as regards returns, I may not have been entirely honest when I said 4, because 5 may be more accurate. That depends, of course, how you decide to count factions. Let me just say a word that may get several people here very excited. I'm just going to say a word, but it won't be a surprise to many of you following the news at the moment. Sanity. Sanity may be returning to our screens, with Eric Young already on his way back and Killian Dane having been contacted in the last few weeks about a return to the WWE. Nikki Cross, who would be a part of the group, has already made the switch in character to a character closer to what she was under Sanity. Interest in Sanity is believed to be high because the WWE are not just looking for good tag teams at the moment, they are looking for teams and individuals that would work well within the Bray Wyatt universe. Sanity fit that bill fairly succinctly. At the moment, the only names that I'm aware of are Eric Young and Killian Dane, but I've also been told there is a reason that Nikki Cross is echoing her Sanity character. Sanity seems to be the future of the tag division. Venom says, isn't there always a chance that Sasha and Triple H could work out a deal even after January? Ross says, it benefits WWE people speculating about The Rock, whether he's coming back or not. Yes, it does. Until you get to like a Royal Rumble, because the rumour that's been put out is, hey, maybe The Rock's going to win the Royal Rumble. I do feel it's sort of, hey, maybe Cody Rhodes isn't going to win the Royal Rumble when he obviously is. That's what I personally see. Spider-Boss says, I got some people attacking me on Twitter due to putting you over with the Sasha news. Yep, and to be honest, the most important thing is that the news keeps getting accurately reported. So I understand, unfortunately, you're going through a bit of a time with that one, Spider-Boss, and I appreciate you trying regardless. But if people don't want to hear the truth, they're not going to hear the truth. Eric, I'd be down for that, certainly. It would certainly raise a lot of money for the local economy as well. True, Spider-Boss. Very true. And it's very notable. Bailey says the crew is aware of a lot of things, but it still doesn't matter. True, absolutely true. Jaden doesn't want Sasha to go to Stardom. Okay, but she wants to wrestle in Japan, so she wants to go to Stardom. I think what she wants would be more important here. Thank you, Colton. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy it. It is a good idea. It's solid. Solid. Joey, how you doing? Says, hey, Tom, joined late. Do you know what's going on with the William Regal status? I believe I was talking about that just as you joined. If not, let me know, because I'm near the point when I'll start reiterating. Hector says, Logan Paul gave an update on his injury. Said that he does have a complete MCL tear and has avoided surgery and is expected to rehab for 6 weeks. Could be available for the Rumble. I'm honestly excited to see him back in the ring. Hopefully get him a semi-prominent match at Mania. Maybe the Paul brothers versus Alpha Academy. That's a good shout. The idea was that it was going to be Gable Steveson versus Chad Gable. Not necessarily at WrestleMania, but in the build to it. That would start at the Royal Rumble, but Gable Stevenson's still not really as involved as they would like. As regards Logan Paul, the plan was for his next match to be the Royal Rumble. So if it is 6 weeks, I don't think it's impossible he gets involved, at least briefly, in the Royal Rumble. Joey, I will have discussed that already as regards the opt-out clause. Kevin says, can Ronda Rousey tonight mention fire? She probably will, yes. She'll have a good laugh about it. Venom says, I think Charlotte will most likely return at the Rumble. I agree on that one. Andy says, I'm always seeing you on my Twitter and YouTube feed. You're probably the only person who was actually real back where we were, so I appreciate me being in your thoughts, fella. Keep up the work. I appreciate that more than you know. Like I say, I definitely was considering reaching out quite recently because I saw you in my Discord and thought, I haven't spoken to him in a while. I should reach out and see how he is. It's real good to see you, mate. I hope you're good. I really do. Okay. Venom says, do you think a deal will be made between Triple H and Sasha? Johnny says, if Regal did return, do you think he would be a GM back on NXT or main roster or some different role? I think he would return to the exact role that he had, the on-screen GM of NXT and the lead talent scout backstage. Ken, welcome. Says, what do you think the chances of Sasha's return at the Rumble? Everything is on the table. Raymond, how you doing, mate? Says, hi, Tom. Nice to see you. What did I miss? So, we have spoken. Sasha Banks taking bookings. Roman Reigns backing up Sami Zayn's time in the Bloodline. Dave Meltzer and his interesting fascination with The Rock. We talked about wrestlers being paid less now than they were. We didn't actually talk about that, did we? We haven't talked about that actually just yet. We talked about 4 returns, William Regal, The Revival, and Eric Young, also Killian Dane. 5 returns. We talked about 5 returns. We do still have to talk about wrestlers being paid less. That will come shortly. Fresh says, whatever contract expire in 2023, I don't have a list as regards contracts expiring. Callie is not a fan of The Revival. Justin says that's huge, and TK has only himself to blame. When does the FDR contract expire? It expires in April next year. Kieran says, I kind of expected it, to be honest, when they made Nikki crazy again. I don't think this particular piece of news will be a massive surprise to people, but I think it's nice to have it confirmed regardless. Ross says, FDR are a major get, but Regal would be bigger from a future development perspective, especially with NXT Europe launching. To be clear, I don't believe they would have formally announced the incoming NXT Europe without William Regal already having decided to sign up. Venom says, what about Alexander Wolf? I have not heard anything about a return for Alexander Wolf at this time. Sean says, hello Tom, how are you? Very well, Sean, thank you. Hope you are as well. Callie says, I've noticed they are forming a lot of factions with females in them. Yeah. They've got a lot of women at the moment. Angel Lucia says, Tom, do you think Roxy or Orton will be in the Rumble? No, and no. Hector says, fun fact, Tom, I still own the original Sanity t-shirt they made. Glad to see I could potentially wear it with pride again. And so you should. Be insane while wearing the word Sanity, because that, for some reason, is really appealing to me in a crazy, crazy way. David, welcome, says, is Naomi coming back? Or are her and Sasha attached at the hip? The negotiations are entirely separate. I do believe Naomi will be back at the Royal Rumble, but when it comes to Sasha, I'm not sure. Kevin says, any updates about AOP? Nothing at this point in time. Little interest from the AOP, from what I can tell, about returning right now. Justin says, Triple H going to let them keep FTR? No, absolutely not. Sean says, PWInsider says Eric Young is coming back to WWE. Yes, they do, and they did so first, to be fair. Ross says, I'm happy to put you over, Tom. The work you put in warrants that. In Wrestling Universe, I'm not relevant enough, so my quote retweets get left alone as far as abuse is concerned. It's a sad world we live in. It's a very sad world we live in when abuse is so freely shared. What can I say? Venom says, is it me, or is it every time a female is in a faction, she always seems to be held back from in-ring competition? Yeah, because if there's more men in that, the men will be doing most of the wrestling because it's not always going to be mixed tag matches. That's not that surprising. Yeah, Simon, Google it. Use Google. Traffic says, gotta admit, I was a Logan Paul hater pre-WWE, but he's done nothing but earn my respect. Same. I'm not the biggest fan of Logan Paul's YouTube work, certainly. Also, his thoughts on crypto are not quite accurate for what it actually is. But we are where we are, and he has been very, very good when it comes to wrestling. Spider-Boss says the 2023 Royal Rumble will have interesting returns, and a lot of them. Venom says Ava Raine in Joe Gacy's stable hasn't wrestled once. Who are her opponents? Who are her ideal opponents at the moment? Who is Joe Gacy's stable wrestling against that she could wrestle? Venom says Rhea hardly ever has matches either. Give it time. That one's coming. Dominic says, hi Tom, just came on. Have you heard anything about Roman's opponents leading up to WrestleMania and dropping the titles? Is The Rock coming back? We have clarified on this one. At the moment, The Rock is not signed up for any matches with the WWE as regards Roman's opponents leading up to WrestleMania. Kevin Owens has been mentioned. Sheamus gets his turn first, surely. Marcel says, have you heard anything about the situation Randy Orton? Do you expect him to be on Mania? No and no. Sean says, any update on Theory versus Cena for Mania? Nope, nothing on that one at this point in time. That would be a lot more interesting now that he's a US champion. Venom says, do you think Tegan could sort out her visa issues? Spider-Boss says, women's return certainly caught my attention. Becky first. Who will return next? Quite a lot of different people lined up. Charlotte, I believe, will be next. Callie says, what would happen with HBK if he came back? He wouldn't. Sean says, have you heard anything about Raquel versus Ronda being the plan for Royal Rumble? More on that very shortly. Let's actually get into the talk about wrestlers being paid less right now. So, if you're a regular here, a spoiler warning, this will not be news to you, but news finally reached other wrestling journalists that the wrestlers are starting to be paid less as regards bonuses and special events, such as WrestleMania. If you're a spoiler warning regular, you'd know that Triple H's recent returns have come with a caveat from Nick Khan that wrestlers will not earn the sums that they used to. This is specifically applicable to people like Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, who are on a lot of money and now on a lot less. However, it does appeal, and apply to a lot more. And it may be part of the hold-up in negotiations for other people and in pending returns and new contracts. Triple H is not able to offer the level of contract that Vince McMahon was able to because Vince McMahon was also the chairman of the board, whereas Triple H is not. And while he's able to negotiate with Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon are not budging as regards to finances. It will also likely result, by the way, in more limited date contracts, and this is something that is being currently explored, as wrestlers seek to look after their own interests also. If you're going to be paid less, you might as well work less dates while doing so, and this has allowed Triple H to involve a lot more people and a lot more individual wrestlers as well. That is the news about wrestlers being paid less. Now, as regards the reports on Royal Rumble matches, the rumoured Royal Rumble matches include Ronda Rousey versus Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, and of course, Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. Those are the big rumours at this point in time. Of course, those matches might not be saved for the Royal Rumble itself, as Triple H is looking to get title matches onto the card for upcoming Raw and Smackdown events in order to maintain interest of what is expected to be a quiet December. I do believe Sheamus versus Roman will happen, but it will happen either around Christmas or at the very beginning of January, because we're not expected to see much of Roman from here. Spider-Boss says, fans on Survivor Series 2022, we want Sasha chance. A few days after the pay-per-view, Sasha appeared at the Garden on Boston. Sasha already had the tickets. There is no relation whatsoever. Simon is asking if I think Sasha possibly signed a Mox-type deal. I don't know. I am not privy to the negotiations as regards Sasha Banks. Hector says, Tom, maybe Meltzer just has a Rock fetish. I mean, the man is pretty handsome after all. That's not a fetish. That is just good taste. Let's be fair. That is not a fetish. That is just good taste. It's The Rock. I ain't going to tell anyone off. You can't kink shame The Rock, let's be fair. I overpoured my drink slightly, so let's hope this doesn't end up with a massive embarrassment for me. I don't want a wet panda. skill. Jaden says, is there going to be a SmackDown watch-along? Yes, there is. SmackDown watch-alongs happen every week, and they will continue for the foreseeable. I'll be setting up the Go Live right as soon as we finish this show here. Fresh said, why did the 24/7 championship end? A huge lack of interest, both from the fans and the wrestlers, meant that there was no point having that championship anymore, so they scrapped it. Michael says, is it January 1st yet? Not yet, mate. Unfortunately, not yet. Spider-Boss says, Rhea looks too happy working with Dominic on Raw. Why shouldn't she be happy? Like, she could just be happy. What's wrong with that? Sean says, thoughts on the new title MJF introduced. It's alright. Not that much different to me, personally. Simon is asking if Sasha has done any face-to-face negotiations. I'm not privy to the exact details of the negotiations with Sasha Banks. Joey says, Deonna Purrazzo teased joining Chelsea Green in WWE. Do you see this happening? Yes. There is interest from Triple H in Deonna Purrazzo. There was interest historically, and she has gone on to make a very, very big deal of herself in her time away. Deonna Purrazzo is someone that the WWE and Triple H are very interested in. She's currently on a brief break from Impact. We will see her again shortly, one way or another. Clyde says, caught you live. Hope all is well, Tom, along with everyone in the chat. Everyone join me in smashing the like button and have a great weekend. Thank you, Clyde. Appreciate that. The weekend's coming up and it should be a good one after all. It's nearly Christmas. What can I say? 23 days is not very long in any way. We currently have 94 people watching and 38 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up. It does make a massive difference. And we have 298 views. 2 more people coming in, we'd have 300 views. And that would be lovely. Like, I'm not asking anyone here to make that happen because that would mean leaving. And I don't want you to do that. But wouldn't it be lovely? Simon says, with Hangman back feuding with Mox in AW. Okay, there is no relation between John Moxley and Hangman feuding and the Adam Cole question, in which I still don't have an answer for you. Venom says, do you see any returns tonight, such as Chelsea Green or Bronson Reed? Yes, I do believe we will get more returns, and I do believe there will be some as soon as tonight. Though, once again, I believe. Justin says, I'm actually okay with this, less budget cuts. I agree with that one. It does mean we're going to get less times when it's just a case of get out. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Let's do more of that where, you know, people aren't getting forced out of the company. So I agree with that. No, Simon. Will says, you're also the person who told us Rhea Ripley is going to get a big push 3 months ago. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Rhea Ripley under Triple H was always going to be pushed hard. Now, a lot of people think, oh, she's been fading into the background. But she kind of hasn't. Everything with Dominic right now, the impending feud with Bianca Belair, the fact that she stepped up to Becky Lynch, Rhea will be someone that Triple H will be building the division around. I will. Halsey says, just popped in to say hi and show support. We will be with you on Watch Along. I'm just out at the minute. Wanted to leave a like and a comment. Appreciate that, Halsey. Thank you kindly. And I'll be having fun. Spider-Boss is excited by the idea of Rhea versus Bianca. Also says, do you see Carmella returning after these difficult months for her? Absolutely no comment on that one. It is up to her what she does, and I'm not asking any questions about it. Jordan says, Tom, keep up the good work. Enjoying the streams. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that, mate. It does make me feel really good that so many people are enjoying these shows. Like, at no point do I want to step away when people are having so much fun. No, Simon, no news on Alexa Bliss. I've already been given every piece of news that I can as regards it. Then it wants a Raw watch along. Then I need to go full time on YouTube so that I don't have to work a day job. And that's a way away. Joey says, Wrestle News reported a Hell in a Cell match has been planned for the Rumble. Have you heard anything on it? I have not. I'm not sure who the Hell in a Cell would be if it's not, for example, Ronda versus Liv. Maybe Owens versus Roman. It's too recent since we've had Hell in a Cell for me. Michael says if Sasha and WWE don't come to an agreement in January, she'll have to sit out the rest of her contract. Pretty much, yes. She has put the word out that she's open to working for other companies, but that may be a negotiating tactic. So it's difficult to say. Spider-Boss says, I like spoiler warning because it's accurate wrestling news. Don't like how other wrestling media outlets spoil returns and debuts. I try my best not to. Certain things, for example, the Bray Wyatt return. If you've, for example, seen the video on YouTube where I lay out exactly what I knew and when, and if you watch the watch-along, where suddenly during the last match, I was no longer hiding the fact that a big surprise was coming, you'll know that there's quite a lot of things that I could spoil and choose not to. Hector says, I understand people on the internet have the belief that WWE will introduce a trios title at some point, but I'd rather have a stables title that has a lot of mixed tag matches. That could be good. That could be good, absolutely. I don't see trios titles in the WWE. I just don't see that one working. Venom says, I will admit, WWE is really good with Triple H in charge and he continues to get better, but there's no WWE without Sasha. That is simply not true because the WWE is actively happening right now. So you just said the WWE is really good with Triple H in charge. You've never seen the WWE with both Sasha Banks and Triple H in charge, but you just said it's really good. So clearly you don't even agree with yourself. Barry says many of these returns are by wrestlers who really aren't very good. Now, obviously, there are disagreements on that, but I certainly think some of the wrestlers that have come back are not necessary. That's my personal opinion on that. I'm not going to go in and say this person's not worth it, this person's not worth it. That's just cruel and a bit vindictive. But I do feel if the plan is to get everyone into limited day contracts, it makes sense. But we're not there yet. Razal says, what's the plan for Becky versus Bayley? Are they going to have a pocket match? Maybe that'll be the Hell in a Cell at the Royal Rumble. Who can tell? Sean is not a fan of the Johnny Gargano theme. Spiderboss says, what was the point of having Damage Control losing on Survivor Series Wargames? The point was so that the opposition team would win. Kieran says, Purrazzo would be great for WWE. On the few Impact pay-per-views I watched, she was great. She would come in very high on the card, I'll tell you that. Turnbuckle Studio says, great show as usual. Thanks, Tom. Welcome, Turnbuckle. Sorry I haven't reached out in a little while. I need to get back on that. We will continue our conversation at some point soon. But very nice to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Jade is asking for 2K23 news. Not at this point in time. I expect we'll get more around Royal Rumble. Simon, you've said that same thing about 50 times in here. About 50 times. Okay? We get it. You need to move on. We know. Okay? We know. I'm not going to let you keep doing it. That's 2 warnings in one show. Okay? You need to move on and say something new at least. Okay? Kelly says, I'm so glad you said that. Best believe I will be watching. Will says, do you see NXT doing a World Cup like SmackDown did? No. Backwards says, could you see Thunder Rosa in WWE? Yes, she's very, very talented and there is believed to be interest there. Thomas says, hi Tom, sorry I'm late. Do you have any news on William Regal coming back to the WWE? The only news I really have is as regards potential opt-out clauses in his contract and the fact that Triple H is desperate to work with him again. Beyond that, not really anything to update. Ross says, I think Deonna is the biggest star out of her and Chelsea Green personally, but she's always been a favourite of mine. Although Chelsea is good looking, I just think Deonna is better of the two. By good looking, do you mean a good wrestler? Joey says, do you think AEW could be in trouble when their TV deal is up since the viewership has been bad recently? I think they'll still get decent offers, but I think if you've watched the financial analysis of AEW with myself and Gleb on the YouTube channel, you will know that they don't need the same deal. They need a better deal. And the fact is, with the ratings going down, they are very unlikely to be offered a better deal. They're more likely to be offered the same deal. The same deal is not good enough. They are banking a lot on this game selling well. A lot is being banked on it. If this game does not sell particularly well, it may be curtains for their hopes of a big deal contract, and people may have to accept less money going forwards. It may be a good thing that people like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk have left the company, although CM Punk is still with the company technically. True Barry, Eric Young was murdered on Impact last night. I kind of suspect the next time we'll see him, he will have been murdered in a parking lot somewhere. Appreciate that, Pierre. That's a very different thing to say, though. There is, as regards Sasha particularly, a real lot of real ridiculous hyperbole. The idea seems to be that there is either Sasha Banks or there is nothing, and it's not true, because if that was the case, WWE would have folded already, and it hasn't. Now, Pierre, I think you're being a lot more reasonable here, and I think you put that really well. Without Sasha, you feel less invested in the WWE. That's a very different situation to there is no WWE without Sasha Banks. We are an intelligent chat here. We're a reasonable chat here, which means we have to say reasonable things. Okay? It's very extremist to basically have the whole situation of, oh, it's either Sasha or I never go near it, when you're here in a wrestling chat asking questions about things that are happening in the WWE right now. Clearly you're paying attention. Spider-Boss says, since Triple H is in charge in WWE, I trust I will see Sasha Banks back soon. No, Sean, there is no news on Alexa Bliss. Spider-Boss says, I still remember Roman's promo on Austin Theory. The daddy is gone. He is, and that really harmed Austin Theory for a while, but he's got back to it. Hector says, all right, Tom, I've had a couple of months of Ronda as champ. How do you feel about this run, especially if the plan is to have her lose at Mania? Not great. Not great. The match quality hasn't been strong. The promos have been better, but the match quality has been very, very weak. Now, of course, she's brought someone new in to help produce her matches, but as I reported on Monday, there are tensions between Ronda Rousey and Triple H, because Ronda Rousey contractually keeps getting her way, and it's not Triple H's way. Hi Vegeta, how you doing, mate? Thomas says, any truth to these Eric Young news? Yes, there is considerable truth to the Eric Young news. He's likely to pop up in the WWE again quite shortly. Simon, I've said everything I have on Sasha. I can't now give you more because I don't have more. Girl says, hi Tom and chat, hope everyone's doing well. Did you hear Roman Reigns is going to face a Tooth Fairy at WrestleMania? I had a rumour about that, yes. A rumour that a Tooth Fairy will be winning the Royal Rumble. But he's learned to care since. He's learned to care. Venom says, why is it all the horsewomen have at least 2 different sets of side plates except Becky? That's real deep stuff, man. I don't think there's as much to it as you think. Sean says they can't sell the game if they don't release it. True. Code said, has Bobby Lashley moved on from the Theory-Seth storyline? Not yet. Not quite. Vegeta suggests Eric Young may be in the Wyatt 6, which I don't think is an impossibility, to be fair. I really don't think it's an impossibility. Ross says, apparently the AEW game is going straight into Xbox Game Pass, according to several gaming sources. That's not good. Peter says, intelligent, have I been allowed here by mistake? No, you have not, Peter. Welcome to the show, mate. Great to see you. Joey says, do you think the CM Punk drama has been affecting the ratings for AEW? Yes, I do think, unfortunately, that it has, but only for CM Punk fans. Only for those. It's a real shame. Sorry, guys, just trying to get a link to something. It's a real shame, but CM Punk has seriously impacted negatively everything going on when it comes to the wonderful world of AEW. It's just kind of not being able to keep up with itself. And a large part of this is a lot of people being basically told, look over here, rather than looking at what's going on in the actual wrestling world. And it makes things more difficult. Okay, Venom, that is a much more reasonable take. Much more understandable one as well. Raymond said, is a plan for an Emma Moss versus Miz Maurice mixed tag match down the road. That seems like an automatic and a bit of a gimme. I would take that. I wouldn't be angry at that as a concept. Tom Welcome says, chaperoning my brother, as he's just turned 18 years. Friends at a house party, and I feel like the older Cobra Kai student. Didn't know the music or anything. We all get there. We all get there. There are 2 young children in my family that I do not understand. They like things, which I do not get. And eventually you just have to have that moment where it's like, yeah, I'm old. Oh well. Hector says, if sanity with Eric Young does become real, maybe they could use what they learned with the Bray return promos and QR codes. They could play on him returning from the dead, if you will. I do quite like what you've said there. I like what you've said there. Spider-Boss says, I wonder how long until wrestling media outlets report Ronda is difficult to work with. Well, we'll wait and see on that one. We'll wait and see. Blackwood says, it's a shame about Randy Orton's injury, keeping him about longer. He's always been one of my favourites, keeping him out longer. Yeah, I do agree with that one. It's a difficult situation for everyone involved. Yes, Pierre, I can reiterate. So, quickly. Next month is January, and that is when Sasha Banks will be taking bookings for wrestling once again. She has put the word out quite a few months ago that she was open to bookings from different companies. However, this may be a negotiating tactic. The main reason January has been stated is that she wants everything done and sorted by January. If it's not going to be sorted, she wants out. Now, this means that either they reach an agreement or she starts looking at other options. For example, Stardom in Japan. But as regards WWE, I do believe the most likely scenario is that she pops up at the Royal Rumble, having formerly returned under Triple H. But that is my personal opinion. Marcel says, hope the Bray story finally goes to the next level. It's now always the same. Still interested, but hope it goes a little faster. I've had the same promos 4 times now. Bray has interfered with interference from Uncle Howdy. That's very true and a real shame on it. Barry says, Eric Young would be perfect for NXT. Working with the inexperienced talent, he can wrestle a good variety of styles and some of his character work is top notch. I do agree there. There is certainly talk of that happening. It just depends how much wrestling will actually be involved. Let's not forget, they could do the same but with Dolph Ziggler, for example. And that certainly would work for me. Venom says, when do we get DIY? Not yet. You might have to wait a little bit for it. Not yet. John says, like what someone said earlier, Colton, I believe, what a great tribute to Brody Lee to debut Uncle Harper on December 16th. Maybe, as Bray is about to put his mask back on, Uncle Harper interrupts him via a video promo. True. Raymond says, any words on Ciampa and his rehab? Going well, and believed to be not much longer to wait. Venom is asking about separation of the tag belts. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like they're going to be fair. It doesn't sound like that they're going to. Ross says, based on what you've said, reference the game, Tom. I agree, it's not good. It's good for me if true, as a Game Pass subscriber. There. Tom, today we've been talking Sasha Banks taking bookings, Roman backing up Sami Zayn, Dave Meltzer talking The Rock for a 4th year in a row, returns for William Regal, FTR, Eric Young, Killian Dane, wrestlers being paid less than they have previously by the WWE, and a little bit on the expected matches for the Royal Rumble. Now, my plan for the channel does involve more Royal Rumble content starting soon. So we will start to get ourselves some dream cards, some match card predictions and so on, etc, etc, as we go forwards. A lot of Royal Rumble coverage coming, including maybe some historical reviews and so on and so forth that may get people interested and whet the appetite a little bit more for the Royal Rumble. Our focus for the next 2 months now, because there isn't a pay-per-view, will be on the Royal Rumble. Hector says, with you getting more and more traffic, Tom, would you ever consider intro music to spoiler warning or some type of intro? No, I will not be doing that. The main reason for that is because when it comes to spoiler warning, the vast majority of our views click off in less than 30 seconds. That's not me, that's not us, that's YouTube. The vast majority of viewers click off in less than 30 seconds. So I need to get to the point, and I need to get to the point immediately. So yeah, no planned intro. Also, the way I see it, if you know what spoiler warning is, you already know what spoiler warning is, so it's not really a concern. Spiderball says, Baron Corbin working with JBL, having cool JBL looking as a proud dad. I'm glad you're a fan of it. Glad you're a fan. And Sean says, will Ciampa be put back with The Miz when he returns? At the moment, yes. Eric says the game comes out in February now, so being pushed slightly. Vegeta suggests Zombie Eric Young joins Bray. Venom says, do you think Randy might retire? I don't know. Peter says, do you see the MJF fantastic promo? That's how a heel creates heat. I don't think there are many better heels working in wrestling right now than MJF. Pierre says, I have a question that will probably be answered by the famous table. Is there a possibility that she signed to WWE but still gets a small run at Stardom? You knew it. You knew it. Joey says, do you see Uncle Howdy ever appearing live, or will we only see him in vignettes? There is not plans right now to have Uncle Howdy be a physical presence, mostly because he's being played by Bray Wyatt. The Wyatt Six are likely to be the physical presence, but he's not likely to be one of them. Steve says, any updates on Pat McAfee? Not planned to return just yet, but there is still discussions ongoing. He is still part of the WWE family. Noob says, speaking of Stardom, how about Kyrie going back to WWE under Triple H? Certainly there's interest, but I don't think from her. Thomas says, are you doing a stream for SmackDown tonight? Yes, I am. And that will be going live just after this show. I'll be raising the goal live. And then, of course, we'll be actually going live just before SmackDown itself. Thomas says, favourite commentary duo? Personally, I have a soft spot for Michael Cole and Taz. I was always a Michael Cole and Corey Graves guy. And honestly, since Triple H took charge, I like it even more. Simon, I don't know any more information about Sasha. You have to stop. Okay. Putting you into timeout, Simon. You're asking the same question in different ways. I've told you, I don't know. And if I don't know, I can't tell you. You're in timeout. I'm starting to give up with this timeout option. I just want to make that clear. We're getting very close to the point where I just have to say goodbye. Can you please respect me a little bit and not try to work around me when I've told you I don't have the answer you're looking for? Because I know the answer you're looking for. The answer you're looking for is that Sasha's coming back tonight and nothing else will do. It's going to have to do. It's that simple. Dog Knight says, good evening, Tom. Welcome, Dog Knight. How you doing, mate? Alex Gonzalez says, Sasha fans become a crybaby if there's no more Sasha in WWE. People have their own favourites and their own disagreements. Marcel says, have a nice evening, Tom. And chat, see you Monday at the live stream. See you in a bit, Marcel. Have a good night. Venom says, will you do a watch-along for NXT Deadline? No. It won't bring in more viewers. It won't. Code says, Women's Royal Rumble. The 4 horsewomen has the final 4, then they return. Then they forget about the returning Eva Marie and she wins the Rumble, pissing everyone off. I don't see it. Connor says, I saw that Wrestling News Co. said Ronda versus Raquel is a plan for Royal Rumble. Is there truth to this? Potentially. I don't have a source on it. Thomas says, any more news on Bo Dallas? Not at this point in time. Reports that he'd already signed are certainly premature. Alyssa says, where is the rumour going around about The Rock winning the Royal Rumble? It's Wrestling Observer is where that's coming from. Dog Knight says, Tom, do you think no pay-per-view until next year is great like I do, as we have no go-home shows for a while and scope for more dramatic stories? I do think it gives us more time to build, and that's a positive, but it does give me less live pay-per-view watch-alongs, which are my most successful shows. So, yes and no. Alex, where's your Alexa versus Bianca Royal Rumble rumour come from? Callie, I agree. Pierre says that Sasha Banks is coming back tonight. Is going to be clipped. Probably yes. We all know someone who just basically wishes for our demise. I know several. Eric says, MJF or Roman, who's the better heel? They're both very different heels. The answer is Jay White. Dad says, big up Tom. How are you doing today? Any news on Edge returning? The most likely return point for Edge would be either the Royal Rumble itself or the build to it. Allard, welcome. Says, personally, I want Cody to win the Rumble, but if he faces Seth, do you think it'll be a normal match? Unlikely, given the overall tension that's increased with them. Hard to say. Yep, Venom, once again, we're not talking NXT. We don't do NXT watch-alongs here, unfortunately. I do know people who do enjoy a lot of NXT. You may want to follow Ed's work. Kieran says Sasha Banks will return when Michael Cole says it's boss time, which is not untrue. Michael says, I'm just glad Sasha will still want to wrestle. She can do that wherever she pleases, and I wholeheartedly agree. That, I believe, is a perfect example of a fandom. Spider-Boss says, half of the way is on Raw. I hope Indy Hartwell gets the call-up. And Hector says, maybe the Wire 6 logo isn't Bray going after Alexa, or if it's Uncle Howdy sending Sister Abigail after her. Sister Abigail's dead, mate. That's like a huge part of the story. There is no Sister Abigail. It's all delusion. Code says, I think Cody winning the Rumble is too obvious now. Obvious isn't necessarily bad. Thomas says, Tom just need to say this. Imagine AJ versus Jay White. Shut your mouth, and how dare you. Dog Knight says, I'm not sure if you're into collecting any wrestling figures. I'm not. I'm not. Although I do have some. Just like people who bought me some for Christmas. I've got a Sting. I have a Gold Dust. I have a Dodgy Knees. And I have a Drip King. That's all she wrote. Pierre says, being a big Sasha fan, I of course want her happiness. Now WWE is easier to follow than Stardom here in France. Fair point, well made. And Alex says, Dave Meltzer talking about Alexa versus Bianca. Well, we'll see if that one plays out. Now, as we wrap up, I am going to get us a raid going. I just need to remember how to do that. How doth one do that? I know there's a way. Redirect, there it is. So, there is someone who's been a friend of the channel for a long time. I'm just going to try and find it. There it is. Being a friend of the channel for a long time, she recently launched her own channel and is doing her own work at the moment. And I do believe it is worth checking out. So I'd like to send some people over her way if she's in fact still live. Just to basically support our fellows. It's having trouble loading, which is not a good sign. Yep, we are still live. Grab that. Put it in there. And you should find it. Redirect privilege is needed. Okay, so I actually can't do that because I'm not allowed to redirect to them. That's a shame. Like, there we go, Steve saying let's raid. Steve has been a beneficiary of it. I can't raid. So I'll have that conversation at some point. Awkward. But yes, Ed has dropped a line to Astrid in the chat if you'd like to check her out. Yeah, I might, Venom, when I go full-time, which we are nowhere close to at the moment. I know you want more content. I appreciate that. But at the moment, I simply cannot do it. But in the meantime, we will be live for Smackdown later on tonight. Do not miss it. But I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.